All right, we have more changes unfolding in the swamp of Washington, D.C. Changes that have theories and speculation floating around about the events that happened a few days ago. The events that could have changed the course of history forever, and not in a good way. Some of the theories you'll come across, have more merit than others. Some are downright disturbing. But in this video, we're not looking at or discussing theories or speculation. No, we're going to look at the facts. And the number one fact that we know for sure is the giant gaping black hole of information that exists around this. The FBI has given us nothing. Zip. Absolutely nothing so far. And we may have some answers as to why that is. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So, for the last 4 years, we've heard the media and the Biden administration from the press secretary's podium tell us the number one threat to our national security isn't Russia, isn't China or Iran, but instead it's right-wing extremism, dangerous right-wingers with their Bibles and guns. Well, let's think for a minute. What would have happened if Trump didn't turn his head at precisely the right time? What would have happened if that bullet was a few centimeters to the right? Let's just game it out. Trump supporters obviously would be crushed. The nation as a whole, normal patriotic Americans, regardless of party, would be devastated, horrified, and rightfully so. But would it have led to violence? People talk about civil war. Personally, I don't think Trump supporters would react like that, but if they did, or if these left-wing activists, groups like Antifa, think about the opening it would have given them to act like Trump supporters and wreak havoc. Because what would happen then if chaos had broken out, regardless who's doing it? The response would be clear. The Biden administration and the media would blame it on right-wing extremism, how dangerous the right is, the number one national security threat. It would be the perfect excuse the Biden administration needed to crack down on dissent. Just think about it, 4 months out from the election. It's a scary thought because that's what was coming. Trump wasn't the only one who dodged a bullet, folks. I think we all did. Now, the FBI is leading this investigation. So far, they've given us virtually no new information. All the details that we're learning are coming from private citizens and reporters, people on the ground that day. The FBI, claiming that they want to deliver full transparency, has given us the following facts. The FBI says Crooks acted alone. They say Crooks had very limited social media use. They also say Crooks wasn't known to the agency, yet now we're learning that he was. They've confirmed his father's a registered libertarian, his mother registered Democrat. The rifle he used belonged to his dad. They also said that there was a surprising amount of planning that took place. But again, they say he acted alone. They say his cell phone had no usable intel on it, which means what? No social media history, no usable cell phone history or cell phone data. Apparently no communications record to speak of, which means the real story surrounding the assassination attempt is the complete black hole, folks. Reminiscent, if you ask me, of the Vegas shooting. The FBI led that investigation as well. Years later, the public still has no information about what really happened. So tell me, are you buying it? Does any of this make sense? The FBI spent 4 hours the other night in Crooks' home, the night of the incident, combing through every electronic device that he had, securing his router, his computers, anything and everything that could have shed some light on what happened. Which means they have his IP address, his MAC address, they have his full search history. Yet they claim, again today by the way, that they weren't able to obtain anything useful. You tell me, what are the chances this 20-year-old, pulled this off himself? What are the chances? Well, according to Congressman Corey Mills, former U.S. sniper, member of the 82nd Airborne and Joint Special Ops Command, basically you can't get a better person to speak about the ops side of this than this guy. And wait till you hear this. According to Mills, the chances of it being what they're saying it is slim to none. Watch this.
I've done thousands of advances. I've done thousands of counter sniper operations with our teams in Iraq and Afghanistan, etc. The amount of negligence, the amount of mistakes that was made here, I have a very difficult time not leaning myself towards this was intentional as opposed to fecklessness.
But wait, talk to me about that. I actually heard you say this right the day after, which I wanted to ask you about. What do you mean intentional? I mean an intentional failure on the part of...
No, I wouldn't say an intentional failure on the part of, but I got to just, I sit here and I scratch my head. You don't want to be the conspiracist. You don't want to be the person.
I'm telling you, because that's what it's leaning toward.
No, I know. And that's the issue, is that you walk this fine balance of, you're not trying to be a conspiracist, but you look at it and you go, how could this have gone so...
But it's one thing if someone on the street says it. It's not. You, Corn Mills, member of Congress, former sniper, you saying it. It makes my eyebrows go up. When you say you're walking the line on this, intentional what?
It almost seems to me, and I think that an investigation is necessary at this point within Congress, not just the FBI, not just others. I look back at it and I'm thinking, all right, for an individual, if you looked at the escalations and how they are trying to approach him, let's just say that it was like, okay, first we want to censor and silence you, then we want to indict and imprison you. Now we're attempting to kill you and take you off the stage.
Let's slow down.
Please.
I'm hearing two things from you. I don't want to jump ahead of things, but I'm also hearing you jumping ahead of things.
Well, actually, I'm just looking at all the different possible capabilities. One of the things as a military member, one of the things as a person who's run in the special operations communities before, one of the people who's actually done this is that you look at all potential analysis, right?
Donald Trump and his team have said, do not...
No, I agree.
Dial it back. Do not blame this on Joe Biden.
Oh, well, actually, I didn't say Joe Biden, to be completely
Who's the
clear.
they, then? Let's be very specific.
Well, that's what the investigation has to do. Was it local law enforcement that had made the mistakes, or was there something to it? Was there...
Is it not dangerous? Is it not reckless to even be throwing around the word intentionally?
So to question things as we do an investigation is recklessness, because at that point, then should we never question anything? My point is this.
I'm not trying to be PC. My point is, in the political environment that we are in.
My point is that this was too easy of a solution. And when I think about 160
I'm just so uncomfortable with even having
I'm uncomfortable with having to say it.
And what'd you notice about that clip? Why would CNN be trying to prevent this discussion? Thought they want transparency. Everyone's thinking the same thing, but CNN's trying to keep a lid on this. I wonder why. Well, it gets even stranger. The last video we did, we went over why Kimberly Cheadle, Secret Service Director, needs to be removed from her post immediately. That was days ago. That if she wasn't removed, wasn't forced to resign or just be fired, it would raise even more questions. If you want to show the American people you're doing everything that you can to prevent this again and to solve what happened, you would immediately replace the director. Why keep her on? It makes no sense. The most charitable explanation of the events is that the Secret Service royally screwed up. Colossal security failure. They failed. Yet she's still in her job. This is where the logic in all of this just disappears. Watch.
Who is most responsible for this happening?
What I would say is that the Secret Service is responsible for the protection of the former president.
So the buck stops with you?
The buck stops with me. I am the director of the Secret Service. It was unacceptable, and it's something that shouldn't happen again. The President and Homeland Security Secretary said today they had 100% confidence in you, but there are some members of Congress calling on you to resign. I appreciate the Secretary's comments, and we're going to continue to be transparent and communicate with people. Do you plan to stay on? Absolutely. I do plan to stay on.
How the hell is this lady still in the job? She's also, by the way, responsible not just for Donald Trump's security, she's responsible for Joe Biden's security as well. Shouldn't the president be a little bit worried? A little bit concerned? I don't know. Or does Joe Biden know something that we don't about this failure? Maybe he isn't worried. Well, let's dig in. Who is Kimberly Cheadle? She's very close to the Cheney family. She served on Dick Cheney and Joe Biden's protective details. Then she was appointed director in 2022 by Joe Biden himself. And if you remember, this was when Joe Biden needed someone very loyal at the top of that job, at the top of that agency. It was in the middle of the text message scandal where the Secret Service was caught deleting thousands of text messages around J6. Well, guess who he picked? Kimberly Cheadle. Watch.
She would know The 28-year veteran was on the team that evacuated Vice President Dick Cheney on 9/11, and she served on then Vice President Biden's protective detail. He named her director in mid-2022. Amid a swirl of controversy over the agency deleting nearly all of its text messages from January 6th. The agency says that was due to a data migration.
System migrations happen, but I think for a lot of Americans, it just doesn't pass the smell test, given the timing and the volume of messages deleted.
Well, it's unfortunate that that would be the assumption that people would make. Our integrity is everything, and there was nothing nefarious attached to that.
Their integrity has...
And now, days after Trump almost loses his life under her direct failure, under her leadership, she has the nerve to lie to our faces, gaslighting us on national television, coming out and gaslighting the American people, admitting the roof was purposefully left unmanned because it was sloped, she said. Yet she had men posted on other sloped roofs. She said this, quote, "The building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point, and so there's a safety factor that would be considered there that we wouldn't want to put somebody on a sloped roof. And so the decision was made to secure the building from inside," unquote. Look, there is so much more here. What we need now is a special subcommittee set up ASAP. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has to approve the subcommittee, select, Matt Gaetz or Jim Jordan or both of them to run it to get around the FBI scapegoating, because for them to claim there's zero social media activity, not one single post they claim has been identified or found, it just doesn't pass the smell test, folks. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.